All right, so we are in um, another episode podcast and of Your Yes is Needed. And today, the topic is going to be the price. Now, we're not talking about money. We're talking about price of being commitment to transformation. And it was always shocking to me because I was never heavy my whole life. So I never needed a transformation. And so when I did my, first weight loss of 100 pounds, it blew my mind how the truth that surfaced that came from it. So, and that's why I always encourage folks to do things naturally so that you can experience the process, because every step is very, very important to understand why it's there. And it's not good to skip steps because you might miss something which you're going to need that lesson later on. So today we have Nefty and Mo, that's part of the Limitless Powerlifting team. And then my other teammate from my bodybuilding team, we have uh, world champ, two-time world champ, natural bodybuilding master bikini, Wendy. And so I know these ladies very well and personally, and I know that they all have individually paid their own price, which I can probably say they were probably shocked themselves. So prior to me pushing record, Wendy, you had got into the subject um, that when we decide to make a life change for ourselves, we want to keep things the same as much as possible. And because you're wondering, why should anything change if I'm going to make myself better? But that's far from the truth. Can you share that? Your
Sure.
experience?
Yeah. So, one thing is, as I'm competing for bodybuilding, we're getting closer to shows. The demands are getting more. So like I'm at the gym, but sometimes it's extra workouts, it's extra posing classes, extra this, extra that, and then like my husband's like, "Are you eating with us? Are you not? Do I make food for you, or do I not?" And there's a little bit of that, but sometimes it's just the question of, oh hey, this is an event that's coming up. So our kids have this, I don't know, field trip. Can you go to it? And I'm like, I can't go to it. Or like family things, like I can't do it. And then people think, oh, do you not care about us anymore? Like we're not important. We just get tossed to the side because you've got this new thing. And then you're like, wait, why can't our relationship be the same? But our demands are different. My focus is different. My priorities are going to be different. I'm going to prioritize getting my workout in versus doing a family event. Sometimes that happens, but
And so there's sometimes like there's a lot of mom guilt that comes with you guys. With you, Nefty, you're a mom, and then I'm a dog mom. So and so without veering off into the conversation, but if someone was not taking care of themselves and leading a very different lifestyle that involved neglecting their family, involved not taking care of their health, involved things that they did not care about, it would not be so vocal. And I know because I lived like that for 7 years. I had surprisingly more support that lifestyle than I do now. So, but we're not going to go there yet. So, and it brings a lot of mom guilt to you, Wendy. And then, so you've been doing this for 7 years. So, how have you been able to manage to where you're understanding, like, okay, so how do I do both?
hmm. Yeah, that's a great question because initially I was like, well, what do you mean I can't do this? I can't do that. Like I feel like I should be able to cook for the family, but I just don't have any energy. Like I just need to cook for myself. And then I turned to my husband, and be like, hey, is it okay if you take care of the kids? So that was a big adjustment, and it was like I felt like I was not being a good mom. I felt like I was absent. I felt like I couldn't be there for my family the way I wanted to be or I had been in the past. And how we handled it, I think I had to really look at my schedule and say, how can I still give quality time to the people who mean the most to me while still getting in my work, and I'm not great with time management. So there was a lot of trial and error, but I think it's just being open to having that open conversation and saying, yeah, I still care about you. I didn't realize that this goal that I have of mine is so time consuming. And, like, I just appreciate your support. Like, how can we still work together? And, like, I know when I sign up for this competition, you kind of need to sign an agreement as well too. I know it's not just me. I got to think about other people. Um, so I think it's just having that open communication and being like, listen, like I'm still me, but I'm working on this thing that means something to me, so I could
Yeah.
be a better person, so I have that confidence in myself, so I could be a better partner, be a better family member.
Yeah, so I always had this idea that if you do something good for yourself, that you're going to have all the support, which I did get in the beginning. I did, like, good for you, because I totally stepped out of my comfort zone. Like, I was a weirdo about it. I mean, when I first started losing weight, like, oh, good for you. But when I did not stop, then the questions became like, so how long are you going to do this for? Um, do you think this is healthy? Do you think are you going to hurt yourself? I mean, there's like all these questions, and I'm not going to lie, it bothered me so much, because I'm like, why don't you shut the fuck up? And so, but then I realized some people say it with pure intentions, and some people are trying to figure out how you're able to stay. And it can still be the same question with different intentions. And so, and that's why I talk about intentions a lot, because when you are doing something with pure intentions, you can feel everyone else's intentions. You have almost permission to see what is it that you're asking and why are you saying it, because it's very important. I mean, everyone's questions can be the same, but with different motives. And so I was expressing this to my team on Tuesday, that you guys are doing a hard thing showing up for free, first of all. And so you should always applaud yourself for showing up, because that's hard and it's free. You have no commitment, you have no dedication. I mean, um, you don't have to be committed. You don't have to be dedicated. There's no contract. There's nothing. You are using everything inside of you to show up for you. And that's hard. Okay. And so I tell you guys to give yourself the applaud in the back. Okay. And so with you two, Nefty and Mo, I've observed in the beginning, there was a lot of support. And by this last powerlifting meet, I invited nobody to the powerlifting meet. I didn't put out no flyers. I didn't talk about it. There was some people that I told who I knew will support you guys in spite of. But you notice I didn't put any flyers out, and I expressed to you guys after the meet, I took all your disappointments away. And so what happens is, like, when we know that, you guys been training hard, we all train super hard. We make sacrifices outside of our very busy schedule to show up and get ready for something that we don't get paid for. Well, I don't get paid for it. And so, in fact, I pay them. And so, like, all of a sudden you're putting all this extra time, you're making sacrifices. Your friends are like, hey, you want to go out tonight? Like, no, I got to go lift weights and all this other stuff. And so, like, you're doing this on your own and for, like, quote, no apparent reason. Is that fair to say? Okay. And so, and then suddenly the questions comes, well, why are you doing this? Why, like, you don't hang out with us no more, you're different. And then you think you know everything, you think you're a power lifter now, and all this other crap that people say when you are committed to something. And so this last meet, no, I did not put flyers out, because unfortunately I had to make sure that I took your disappointments away, so that you weren't looking at the door waiting to see, just in case that someone did see the flyer, that they would show up for you. I know, it happens to me often. Like, I know I put the flyer out there, and some people come and some people don't. And so, or some people expect me to hang out with them after the show. I'm like, I'm done. Like I'm wiped. I'm just ready to eat and pass out. And so, and if you're not a competitor, if you've never competed, you don't know the toll it takes on your body. So, Mo, would you like to share your price that you paid? I think you're on mute. Hold on.
Oh,
Oh, no, I can hear you.
okay. I think similar to what Wendy said, this sport is, and that's like weird to say because like I've never grew up playing sports, but this sport has like forced me to like really figure out what are my priorities in life. And I think there's like this misconception that, oh, like if you're single, you have no children, like you have all this free time. And it's like, yes and no. Like I have things that I need to do for myself. I think it's made me say no to a lot of people and a lot of things. And no is a hard word to say. It's like the shortest word and also like the hardest word to say. So I think that's like a bit of the price that I've been paying over the past year.
I want to continue going there. So I like that, because especially if you were a yes person and now you have to do no, because now you have to train for a sport that you're like, why am I even doing this? So how hard was that transition for you? And what kind of feedback or return or ridicule did you get for it?
I think in terms of like friendships, I think most of my friends like understood because we're all, you know, kind of busy young professional 30s, like trying to figure out life. I think in terms of like family, it was interesting because my family is not here with me in Massachusetts, they're all back in Virginia. But, you know, just my availability for people changed. And so like one particular family member was like, oh, like, don't forget you still have us. And it's like, of course I haven't forgotten. And I know like the type of conversation and the type of energy that goes into that would be draining to me to continue to engage if I want it to be focused.
Yeah. Has any of your friends or family seen you live?
No.
No. And then the guilt trip is like, oh, you're not available for us, but they have never seen your work.
No.
Yeah, so Nefty, okay, so we have 6 powerlifters that are actively competing. And out of all the families, Nefty's mom and dad are the biggest supporters that show up every single meet. In fact, when Nefty's mom does not show up, or when a competition is coming up, I'm like, Nefty, does your mom know? And she'd be like, no. I go, I have her phone number, don't worry, because I know that she will show up. And it made me realize that's a damn shame that it's out of the 6 families, and I'm gonna go here. We are a culture that says family is everything. We are a culture that's all about family, that's all about, all this and stuff like that. But when it comes down to something good, it always brings up the question, should you be doing that? My new favorite answer is, I don't know. I'll find out, because I don't know. And it's already a struggle trying to figure out, is this for you? It's already a struggle pushing yourself. It's already a struggle making the sacrifices. It's already a struggle to find a person you haven't met yet. And then so when you have like the other support, like, hey, should you be doing this? I don't know. I'm about to find out though. And so it's hard. And this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because many times, unfortunately, you're not going to have a lot of people that agree with you. But this is why I tell you guys, what do you guys want? Because if you don't know what you want, you're not going to chase after it. And I can't help you push towards that goal if you don't know what you want. And so that's why I ask people, what do you want? And if you tell me you don't know, I can't push you to that goal because you don't know yet. And it's important that you know what you want. And so, Nefty, you have great support system, but like, how is your inner circle with your friends? How's the sacrifices been made? You also have a son, you work overtime and you work full time. You have your son. Talk about that.
Man, it's hard. I thought I had a lot of time in my life, but I don't. Time is very precious. My family is like everything in terms of like, being there for my son when I go to the gym and making sure that he's good while I do train. I think that's the blessing in it. The hardest part has definitely been like my friends, because they'll be like, you're missing the parties, or I'm missing going out, or I'm missing, the action. Why didn't you come out? I'm going to the gym, I'm going to train. I do put that first, because it's my health. So that part's hard, but I'm committed to I think I've learned over this journey over a year, like I'm committed to myself. Like my journey is more important, and that party's always going to be there. But it sucks at times though, because you want your friends to support you and like to see your vision, especially when you're doing something good. I'm like, I'm not doing anything wrong. This is like my health we're talking about. So sometimes I don't understand that, and I think that's the battle for me. So I'm like, don't you see the good? Like everybody else, like some people see the good in me, or the person that I've changed or grown to be, right, in the last year. But not everybody sees that. They just miss the old self, the person that wants to go hang out or drink, because I gave up a lot. Like I stopped drinking alcohol and eating certain foods because gluten. And some people don't see that. They don't see the change, the good change.
And I think that's, to me, I was sharing with Wendy one time, I think that's this part right here is the most sensitive part, because this is the part where you're either going to say, no, I have to keep going to find out more of the unknown, but I know it's going to benefit me, or do I want to stay here so that I don't lose what I have? Because we always had this idea that we can transform as long as we have to keep our old company. And I learned that that's far from true. And the more levels that you grow, you actually have to meet a new person at every level, because each person almost has an assigned level. And so, and if you've never been to that level, how can you take me there? How can you help me understand or unfold? And so I always joke around with Wendy. I'm like, how are we such good friends? Like I place last every single time, and you place first every single time. And yet, like, we are very, very good and very compatible when it comes down to training, when it comes down to mindset, and when it comes down to everything, because like I do have a championship mindset regardless of the results, but eventually I will get there because I'm very patient. But it's just but it's
Sorry.
go ahead.
The internal is the same. The external is just, it's gonna take some time for your external to catch up with your internal self. So the changes, I find you extremely interesting because you have not always been heavy your whole life.
Right. This part is new to me.
That's unique. Usually when people are struggling with weight, it's because it's a result of the habits, and it's a result of environment as well. Sorry, just
Yeah. So I was sharing with you guys are in a place of growth, and you have to either almost pick, like, what do you want? Do you want your old habits, or are you trying to learn new habits? And unfortunately, that comes with a price. And so you have to let go of something old to find something new. And that happens at every single level. And that is hard because, like you said, Nefty, like, man, like, is this my life? Is this? And then, but when you're in it, you feel good, you're growing, you're stronger, and you like it. But then you sit back and you go, but am I missing out on something? And so that's hard. And so that's why I say discipline sucks. Like, how much longer do I have to be disciplined for? But it depends on what you want. And so do I believe that you can apply it to your other life? Of course, you're doing it now. Everyone's doing it now. So Mo, let me ask you this question. What do you what do you wish that you saw when you, well, first of all, did you expect that that you were going to do something way out of your comfort zone, train for it, and that no one showed up for it?
No.
No,
This is
that's
probably the longest I've been committed to something outside of church, outside of schooling. Like, normally I'm great at starting. I can start anything, but seeing it through. Yeah.
And when did you realize, like, man, this hurts?
Mm. I feel like in the beginning, I guess like it was kind of like the honeymoon phase when we first got started. It's like, oh, this is cool. This is exciting. We had our first meet. And then I was like, I'm all set. But then I was like, just kidding. And then I would say it started getting hard right around the new year. Because I
Oh,
think at that point, you know, like just like you're saying, like with every level, you're confronted with a newer version of yourself.
mhm.
And there's like, you know, crossroads. It's like, all right, are we gonna stick with what we've always known? Or are we gonna try to forge a new path? And so I think like that tension there, like that was the part that was hard and is hard. Specifically like, you know, like with like eating habits, establishing healthy rhythms, like defaulting to the unhealthy aspect of things, and you know, but like being confronted with like this new identity of being an athlete. It's like, how can I say I'm an athlete if I'm like struggling to like do what I think athletes should do or be what athletes should look like? So I think
That's a good one. We did have that conversation.
yeah.
Athletes come in all shapes and sizes, and that's you guys are way stronger than you. I tell you, you guys are way stronger than both of us combined. You probably can lift both of us with one arm each. So there is this like illusion that fits and athletes have a look, and that's far from true. You guys are athletes for sure, and recognizing it and accepting it was a very big struggle for you. And I would say it's still a struggle for you to accept it or let people know that you're a power lifter, but you are. I mean, it's something that you just have to accept and be proud of, because you definitely put in the work to earn that title. And Nefty, when did you realize that you're like, wow, this part sucks?
January.
You too?
Yeah. So like a year ago, when I first started coming, I was like borderline diabetic. So in January, I went back for my other test result again, like after a year later, and it went down like 2 points, which is great, but I didn't see that. I was just like, it's not where I want it to be. I want it to be like a 5.6, which is like not borderline anymore. And not acknowledging the hard work that I did for the last year, and it went down 2 points. So I missed that, but I mean, I appreciate it now, but I didn't see that at the first. I was just like upset. I was like, wait a minute, maybe I should have ate better. I should have trained harder. Like, was I going 100%? Like, I questioned myself, or maybe I should just didn't do this anymore. But you know, I missed. You know, that was huge though, going down 2 levels, like from a 5.9, 5 points. No, I'm sorry, yeah, 5.9 to a 5.6 was a big deal.
Mm-hmm. And then the one thing I want to lead into next as our ending part is that Wendy, you experience this a lot now. Like once you have accepted, like, this is my lifestyle, I'm in, doesn't matter what people say. That's when the messages come. The unwelcome comments come, the unwelcome messages. Like, I hate to say this, but that is also a stage. Like when people create fake profiles to tell you what you're doing wrong or what you look like, and they start brushing off their insecurities. So let me just say this in this podcast. It took a year. Like this topic whooped my tail. I mean, I shouldn't say it whooped my ass. It whooped my ass for a good year. I felt very uncomfortable. I felt very unknown. I felt like maybe I shouldn't do this no more. When I was losing the weight, maybe I should do it differently. Maybe I should talk about it differently. It's people's insecurities that will translate very differently. It's not what you're doing for yourself. As long as your intentions are pure and good, you will always win. But trust me, it will trigger people's insecurities, because for the number one reason that some of you guys are, your friends are pretty much the same age, and you guys live in the same town and probably in the same culture, the same environment. But suddenly you're ahead. You're ahead mentally, you're ahead physically, your confidence has boosted. And now you're not at a level no more where you're understood. And that is what triggers the insecurities. You're no longer understood, and suddenly you think you're all that. Okay. So go ahead, Wendy. I said we have 10 minutes.
um, so I'll use my sister for an example. She's single. She doesn't have any kids, and she moved out west by herself. And she always wants to keep in contact with me, and she'll reach out to me and she'll say, "Hey, I need your advice on this thing." And then one day she said to me, "I feel comfortable reaching out to you and coming to you for anything, but I don't feel that reciprocated." And I was like, I don't know how to say this to her in a nice way. I was just like, we're not in the same anything right now. It's like, I love you, but like if I'm working on a project, like if I'm working on fine tuning a certain body part or like stage presence or something, I'm not gonna go to you. I'm gonna go to someone who has the expertise, the level of expertise that I'm looking for. Or if I'm looking for mindset stuff, I'm gonna go to a mindset guru. I'm not like she hasn't figured her life out yet, so it's like, not that I'm trying to talk down to her, but I just like I if I want to go deep into a conversation, it's like I'm gonna go someplace else, right? So like, and I'm not trying to be mean. It's just like I have to select who my environment is, who I'm filling my head with, because I need to keep my energy level up. I need to stay motivated for myself. I need to keep my momentum going, I guess is what I'm saying. So
Yeah, it's very hard.
Yeah, and I found that I needed to be around people who could be as deep and like go super deep in conversations, because I needed to work things through, work things out. And I felt like it expanded me when I hung out with people who did hard things, who I don't know, athletes have that. I feel like it's like
I do think so too.
it's a singular sport. There are people around. There are other people who do what we do, but like on the whole, it usually is a singular sport. So it's like, how do you stay committed? How do you like dig deep when you really don't want to? When you just want to, for like, if you're a competitor, you just want a freaking apple. Like you see someone walk by and I'm like, isn't that nice? Wouldn't it be nice to have an apple right now? Just an apple. And it's like nobody gets that, but it's, like, can I just smell that? Like, can I put my face in your food, but you eat it? Like, I'm not gonna eat it. It's weird, but like you get it, I guess, if you're around your people. People understand, like athletes understand the sacrifice. They understand there are lonely times where you just have to put in the work yourself, and no one can carry you across the stage except for you. No one can lift that weight except for you. You're gonna be disqualified if anyone helps you. So it's I'm sorry, what was the question? I got excited.
So like, no, you're leading to the next thing. Like how I wanted to end off. Like, you're gonna eventually understand, and this is what you two, Nefty and Mo, are experiencing, is that like your company matters. And because I always had assumed the longer you're in something, the easier it gets. That's very wrong, especially when it's something that you don't have to be committed to. Like work. You don't feel like going to work, but you show up anyways, and you put in the 8 hours that you're required. But when it comes down to yourself, you're like, I can do it tomorrow, or I'll do it next week. And then we postpone that. Next thing you know, like we're 50. And so in order to keep that mindset, like Wendy was leading into, it's like who you keep around is important. But though we miss the people that used to be in our lives, you have to pick if you want growth or not, which requires the sacrifices that we're talking about. This is the price that has to be paid. And that was what shocked me when I was learning this transformation. Would you ladies agree or disagree?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Because I know even like when I'm around people, they're like, "Oh, you don't drink alcohol? Like what? Like did something happen? Like just like like something bad happen? I had a bad experience with alcohol." I'm like, no, I'm just I'm have to break it down. Like no, because I don't want inflammation in my knee because I heavier. My goal is to live heavier. Yeah, am I pregnant? Like no, reason. So it's like I always have to explain yourself, and I think like sometimes like we're at the gym, like when we're all like the teams together, I don't have to explain that to you guys. Like we get each other.
Right.
We're all trying to dig deep, so it's just different.
Nah, and it's yeah, unfortunately that part gets lonely. And so but I get it now. I get it because the longer I'm in something, like right now I'm in a stage of in spite of. I'm on the I show up in spite of how I feel. And that's hard because they don't that don't come with a check. So you have to find out why you're doing it, why you're giving up pizza, why you're turning down cookies. You're like, okay. But I do want to tell you girls that I am proud of you because you guys are doing the hardest thing. As you can see, I'm pretty sure you guys listening to Wendy helped because you're like, wow, you think like that too? And it's important to be surrounded by people so that you don't feel like you're weird or that you're wrong or that you're off or you're selfish. Like it's important that you find the right people so that you can meet your next guru and then your next guru after that. So thank you for joining for tonight's platform. That went by quick. I said 15, 20 minutes and we're over here almost ending with 40 minutes. All right now. All right. So thank you for this incredible conversation. So all right. Thank you guys for listening.